can talk in your cluster. Oh, dang it. That was not that funny. Look, you can talk in your cluster, and I'm going to put 8 more up here, all right? You can just talk with a partner or just work by yourself, but I want you to, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I want you to do the exact same thing for a different 8 pictures. You should have drawn them before you arrived.
Yeah, come on, get in the game.
I did, and then I realized like this. I went from I and
Yeah, I'll give you the code. You can add you.
I went from I and then diagonally and OP, so I don't have JKLM. It's I.
What do you mean IHOP?
Like I hop.
IHOP, like IHOP? How do you spell IHOP, by the way?
I'm gonna tell you.
So Obama's awesome.
Did you see the phone on Spotify? It's just called Obama is Gone. It's just a guy going, Obama is gone. It's just on Spotify.
Remember, guys, you're going solid, liquid, gas. You're going element, compound, mixture. You're going heterogeneous, homogeneous. Give all the words you can give for each one. You can draw a line.
I can't draw squares.
Try to take
Are you ready?
Guys, wait.
And he is in Paul, D is in Dan, J is in John, 5. Yeah. Z is in zebra, D is in Dan, 9, 3, dash.
So Ray.
And then 2, J is in Joe, 2, 9, F is in Fernando.
Wait, don't pick out the
Why did you just come over here and then do that?
I don't know. Sure.
They're all caps.
It doesn't matter.
I'm pretty sure it's just you can't like draw a line.
You said it could be curved though.
What?
Hold up, let me just pick my curved line.
No. I'm talking about edit.
My line looks like a heartbeat.
Jacob, you don't have to.
Actually, my line goes too fast. So it's actually the opposite.
So like, we know the hard beat. That's what he's trying to get at.
You really just did that. She really. Oh, look, there's a rooster right here. Hot plants.
Yeah. Don't ever say that again.
I'm gonna knock all your stuff down tonight. Break your calculator.
That's not right.
I meant to say computer, but okay.
My computer's in the back.
You know what's also right next to me?
No. Files. I didn't need to because like I got them off of Amazon and I couldn't like choose how many I wanted. It came in a package. I had like 6.
Did you really take off a little bit? Where's that little cat thing?
Yeah, I
Little cat thing. The little, what kind of goes out?
Yeah,
What would I bring it?
I'll just get you code. We have a computer day tomorrow, so I'll get you the code when you come in.
I got yelled at today. Okay. So you know it was a full house, like the person on center said, right? And then he still did that. So I started doing that. Okay, it wasn't a good time to start doing that. Perfect.
Perfect. Wow, that's even worse.
Do you trust me?
No, that's not.
I'll see you later.
When you mad, like, watch us slam the door. He tries to slam the door doesn't slam, so it's just
That
slowly
was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Good time. What competition
No,
was
my
that?
answer was
That-
it was
it
the
the
gallery.
gallery?
It was
Oh,
the
the gallery was so
gallery.
good.
I was probably our best show. We should just leave this in the recording.
Let's unpause.
No.
So, all right. So 4-1. What do you think here for I? She went element liquid. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
I agree. It's perfect. All right. And just please stop me if you have any questions or don't understand. Let's go to cluster 6, seat 5, Aspen. What did you get for J?
I got mixture.
Okay.
Hetero.
He got a hetero mixture. Agree or disagree? Agree. I think it's perfect. All right. Let's go to cluster 5, seat 2. Look at it find you. Wasn't that exciting? K, what'd you get?
But I got homogeneous.
A homogeneous gas. Do y'all agree or disagree?
I agree.
It's perfect. For K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, K is homogeneous gas. Very good. All right. I'm impressed so far. Let's go to cluster 2, seat 4.
Is that?
L.
L. I got a.
Solid. Well, so is it a mixture, compound, or element? First.
Oh. Wait, what is the open for me? Like it's not.
It doesn't matter. The color versus not color doesn't matter. You're just looking for whether or not it's all one shape or if you have multiple shapes.
I got.
All right. So the issue with the element there is with us having different sized shapes. Even though they're both circles, but everything is here. The different size shape is going to indicate a mixture to you. All right. So this would be one type of element mixed with another type of element. All right. What about homo or hetero? Now that I've gotten you that far. All right. He says homogeneous. Agree or disagree?
I agree.
Now, I mentioned that the line can curve. This is a heterogeneous mixture because you can still easily separate one from the other. They are trying to show you that these liquids look like they're just sitting on top of each other. But yeah, I'll go heterogeneous there.
So it's a mixture or compound or what?
That's a mixture.
Just a liquid?
Yeah, a liquid. Definitely not solid, and it's not floating around like a gas. So let's go to 3-6. 3-6. What did you get for M?
Oh, that's me.
You had one job.
Solid. Sorry.
Solid's right. Solid element, compound, or mixture.
Element.
A solid element. Good. Y'all good there?
Yes.
All right. Let's go to 3-1.
A mixture is homogeneous.
Homogeneous mixture. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hooray. All right. Now, O is my favorite. O is an awesome particulate diagram. Can, beyond what we've been doing for all of these, can anybody tell me what cool thing is happening in O that's not happening elsewhere?
Sublimation.
Sublimation's happening.
Bless you. You're famous again.
That was Annalise. Yeah, sublimation's happening. What you'll notice is it's going from an obvious solid state to an obvious gaseous state without ever getting wet. Not only that, the way that this compound is set up, I would say it looks like it's dry ice. All right, it looks like it's CO2. So I would say this particulate diagram is dry ice.
That's it.
And then, well, so it would be a compound is the only thing to say, but it's a compound sublimating. All right, so let's get somebody to help us with P. Let's go to cluster 6, seat 5, Aspen. What did you get for P?
Mixture, homogeneous.
A homogeneous mixture. Agree or disagree? I agree. But not only that, it's solid. Can anybody tell me a vocab word associated with a mixture that just forms one solid? A solid solution? What is the vocab word for a solid solution, usually pertaining to metals?
Alloy.
An alloy, yeah. This looks like it's probably an alloy because it looks like it's solid, it's homogeneous, which is what an alloy usually is, or what an alloy always is. I'm sorry? A-L-L-O-Y. So I'm just throwing as many reminder vocab words at you as I can. Any questions? Now, the last thing that I want us to do today, I only have 10 minutes, is that accurate? No. That's a bummer. 35, right? The last thing I want to do today is to go over some basic vocab associated with separating mixtures. Sometimes on the AP, one of the things that they like to do is they'll ask you an FRQ that's got, you do the math to figure out how you would do all this, and then they just ask the question, and then what would you do in lab? And they want you to go through a procedure and use keywords in regards to equipment and processes. So I want to throw some process names at you that you might not have in your brain. And this was not available, bless you, to copy on the slide, so everyone's writing.
Why didn't you click it?
He's smart now.
You could have just clicked it. It would have done. Let's see. Page of school.
Is that around decantation?
Yep. Decantation is one of the worst ways to have to separate two things that are mixed together. Again, all I'm going through now is different ways to physically separate mixtures. This would be like if you had a salad dressing mixture or whatever. When you shake it up, it becomes a suspension because you force two things to mix together that wouldn't normally. But if you needed to absolutely separate them, you could let it sit. They would separate on their own, and then the oil is what sits on top. And if you were just to pour the oil into a different container, it would separate the two completely, all right? But the problem is that the chance of getting all that oil completely off the leftovers of the salad dressing is almost zero, because decantation is a separation process that only includes pouring. There's a much better version of decantation. For those of y'all wondering why I'm using paper slides and not just projecting it, is because I can't use my computer to record and project. That's why I tapped the screen earlier, because last period it was a live.
Oh, we're getting the short end of the stick.
You're not. You're getting the exact same thing, except it's.
Except you can't tap on it. It's like the best part.
I think it was better when you tried to do it.
I mean, if you did that, if you did that every class period, they'd be getting short end of the stick.
Yeah.
So he gets it. The best friend. Excuse me.
We did a separation lab in my class last year. Anybody remember what 4 things you had to separate from each other? Beads, sand, iron, and sugar. Those were the 4 things. And filtration was one of the steps that you could use to separate. I bet some of y'all experience filtration at your house in the morning, probably more from your parents than you. Yeah, coffee is a filtration system. All right, they pour hot water through coffee beans and they filter, and then you get the filtrate, which is the coffee. But it's a much more reliable way to separate compared to decantation.
Decantation for your coffee, just like praying you don't.
Yeah, exactly. That would be terrible. All right, so those were both for heterogeneous. We can use evaporation for homo and hetero. Splice my videos together.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a pizza if you can splice together a 30-minute reel of Cummings jokes on it.
Oh, please do it.
I
We should
would.
have a movie night.
Wait, that should get us like the automatic warning because of competition between cars. Are you still doing that?
Not for AP.
Wow. So we automatically.
Because we're all gonna fail.
So.
No one wants to see those test averages. Okay. So evaporation is a very obvious way to separate two things that are mixed together. I know there's nothing new here for your brain, but it's not the best way to. It's not as effective as another technique I'm about to show you. We did a lab in my class last year where we added a hydrochloric acid to sodium bicarbonate, and it created salt, but there was also a water byproduct. Your point was to figure out how much salt was made. You were doing stoichiometry. So we did evaporation, and it separated the salt from the water. The only problem is that there was more analytics that we could have ran on the liquid component of the product. But when you evaporate, it disappears. You don't have it anymore. So you were left with the solid, which is what we were analyzing. Well, because that was the only thing that we could analyze based on the way I had us set the experiment up. There is a better version of evaporation.
What? No, because you have to pick paper out.
Oh.
See what I did there?
Yeah, why weren't they just on the PowerPoint?
It's because you gotta have more slides. A horrible shot.
I did. I'm over it.
Look at people in this nice Lego Batman better than Lego Star Wars.
Lego Star Wars.
This is the last one.
What did you just say?
One more after. But I have 3 minutes, so I'm perfect.
Can we take Carolyn out of the class? Carol,
I'm not the problem here.
Carol just disrespected Lego Star Wars.
It's Lego Star Wars.
What do you mean?
What did you say?
Lego Star Wars.
I watched you pick your nose.
I wouldn't pick my nose on camera.
Oh,
I will happily scratch my nose on camera.
standards.
That was kind of deep. It was a deep stretch.
Are you keeping this all there or just like pause?
No, I hope it's not paused. Okay, good. Sorry guys, we gotta start over. So matter.
Come in here for lunch.
Distillation is a superior form of simple evaporation because the apparatus is set up to not only separate the two components but keep both components. Can anybody think of some places that distillation is used in the real world?
Breweries.
All right, breweries. For some reason, both classes went straight to alcohol, but it's okay, I guess. Breweries. But another way, how did y'all get to school today?
The bus.
Walk.
Okay, walking is bad. But how does the bus run?
The bus runs.
Gas.
the
On
wheels go
gasoline,
around
yeah. Gasoline comes from crude oil, and it's got to be distilled out of it, pulled out of it, and you're still able to keep both of those components. Guys, the last thing I was going to show y'all is chromatography, but I think y'all know what that is. You did a lab with me last year. Okay, never mind. Let me put it up. Snap picture.
Quickly, Mr.
Have an amazing day.
Oh, I'm taking
Wait, what is that?
What is that?
Yeah, it's on the video.
We did that?
Yeah, it was.
Yes, you did that.
Do you not remember that?
Okay, I missed a lot of days. Was it first semester?
Oh yeah, because probably
It was the first unit.
I was gone all the time.
This is still recording. Yay.